The Stock Horse and the Stable Cat, written by Phil Van Treuren, narrated by Tanner Campbell. A faithful stock horse and a wily stable cat had become unlikely friends at the ranch and found themselves walking together one autumn morning. In a meadow behind the paddock, they saw an apple tree and watched as its branches rustled in the breeze. "The wind is good," said the stock horse. "It carries the smell of sagebrush from the valley and blows through my mane, and that makes me feel happy." "The wind is bad," said the cat. "It's boisterous and bothersome and makes it difficult to hunt mice in the field, and it makes me feel angry." But the wind was not good or bad. It was simply the wind, and the horse and the cat were free to choose how they felt about it. The cat bounded up the trunk of the apple tree and walked out onto a branch. She sat there and licked her paw contentedly while the horse looked up at her. "High places are good," said the stable cat. "I can spy on everyone around me from up here, and that makes me feel excited." "High places are bad," said the stock horse. "You could hurt yourself if you fell from there, and that makes me feel worried." But high places were not good or bad. They were simply high places, and the horse and the cat were free to choose how they felt about it. An apple fell from the branch where the cat had perched and landed with a gentle thump on the grass. The horse lowered his head to pick it up and nodded joyfully while he ate it. "Apples are good," said the stock horse. "They're crunchy and sweet and plentiful in early autumn, and that makes me feel delighted." "Apples are bad," said the cat. "Worms tunnel in them and they have a dreadful smell, and that makes me feel disgusted." But apples were not good or bad. They were simply apples, and the horse and the cat were free to choose how they felt about it. The horse and the cat left the apple tree as a bank of clouds moved over the valley. In the meadow, they discovered an old hollow log, and the cat crept carefully inside it and peeked out at the horse. "Narrow spaces are good," said the stable cat. "I can hide in them and take long naps, and that makes me feel safe." "Narrow spaces are bad," said the stock horse. "I like being in the open valley where I can see things for miles, and being cooped up makes me feel nervous." But narrow spaces were not good or bad. They were simply narrow spaces, and the horse and the cat were free to choose how they felt about it. The sun climbed higher and higher into the sky as the horse and the cat passed through the meadow. They stopped at the edge of a small pond, and the horse looked down at the mountains reflected in the shallow water. "The pond is good," said the stock horse. "I can splash in the water on hot days, and that makes me feel glad." "The pond is bad," said the stable cat. "If I fell into it, my fur would get wet, and that makes me feel upset." But the pond was not good or bad. It was simply the pond, and the horse and the cat were free to choose how they felt about it. At the boundary of the meadow, they saw the rancher's wife tending the goats. She was herding them back to the ranch yard, and there was a smell of sagebrush in the air that sometimes came with rain. "Goats are good," said the stable cat. "They fill the silver pail with fresh, delicious milk, and that makes me feel cheerful." "Goats are bad," said the stock horse. "They're always stomping and screaming and causing an awful ruckus, and that makes me feel offended." But the goats were not good or bad. They were simply goats, and the horse and the cat were free to choose how they felt about it. The goats went about their business, and the horse and cat decided to take a long walk together to the mouth of the valley. Along the way, they saw the rancher working to fix a broken fence before the rain came. "Hard work is good," said the stock horse. "Pushing cattle all day with the rancher is tough, but it makes me feel proud." "Hard work is bad," said the stable cat. "The thought of tiring myself out to help someone else makes me feel annoyed." But hard work was not good or bad. It was simply hard work, and the horse and the cat were free to choose how they felt about it. When they reached the boundary of the ranch, the horse and cat looked out across the valley. Evening was approaching, and it seemed that the clouds might pass without bringing rain after all. "Being alone is good," said the stable cat. "Having only myself to rely on and doing things without help makes me feel free." "Being alone is bad," said the stock horse. "Having no one to share things with and talk to makes me feel lonesome." But being alone was not good or bad. It was simply being alone, and the horse and cat were free to choose how they felt about it. The sun was getting lower in the sky, and the horse and the cat agreed to return to the paddock for the evening. As they walked back, they saw the ranch dog keeping a close watch over the pasture. "The ranch dog is good," said the stock horse. "He helps us when we move cattle in the valley, and that makes me feel grateful." "The ranch dog is bad," said the stable cat. "He barks and growls when he sees me, and that makes me feel anxious." But the ranch dog was not good or bad. He was simply the ranch dog, and the horse and the cat were free to choose how they felt about it. Before they reached the paddock, the horse and the cat stopped and looked out across the valley to the west. The sun had started to sink behind the mountains, and the sky was kindled into a blaze of color. "The night is good," said the stable cat. "I can sneak around unnoticed in the darkness, and that makes me feel adventurous." "The night is bad," said the stock horse. "I can't see a thing when the sun sets in the valley, and that makes me feel frightened." But the night was not good or bad. It was simply the night, and the horse and cat were free to choose how they felt about it. The two friends stood with each other in silence for a long time, watching as the sun set and the coolness of dusk covered the valley. The sky above them darkened like water in a deep pool, and a few dim stars began to flicker there. "We get to decide for ourselves how things make us feel," said the stock horse at last, "and that is good." The stable cat looked at the stock horse, then lifted her gaze to the stars and thought for a moment. "Yes, you're right," said the stable cat. "That's the greatest good of all." And the stock horse turned to walk back to the corral, while the stable cat crept silently off into the night.